try to be attentive. I will not have time 7 times to repeat for you something. I give you to study all upper extremity, yeah, and shoulder, shoulder, and arm region, and forearm, and cubital, and head. And now, during these 3 hours, I will explain for you all these compartments. Of course, I will not make any picture because I don't have time. If you need the pictures, go to the previous groups, 303, 304, take from them, start to work, guys. Start to work, please. And let's start. What does it mean, shoulder, shoulder? Please, friends, I ask you minimally to write, maximally to listen. That is your choice. You can do what you want, but the time will not be enough. Shoulder, shoulder, guys, that is 4 regions, which is surrounded from all sides your humeral jaw, and which make communication and connection between human body trunk and between 3 upper extremities. Which regions included inside of the shoulder, shoulder? 4 regions, as you remember. It is infraclavicular or subclavicular region. It is the scapular region. It is the deltoid region. And it is the axillary region. That is 4 regions which is surrounded your shoulder joint. What is 3 upper extremity? Of course, arm, cubital region, forearm region, and hand region, yeah, which is divided into pelvic and into dorsal septum. As usually, we start from the borders. What the borders between thorax region and between upper extremity? It's very simple. Look to me, please. In the anterior side, medially, it is sulcus deltoides pectoralis. From back side, it will be posterior margin of the deltoid muscle, which we call sulcus deltoides posterior. Let's say sulcus deltoides pectoralis and sulcus deltoides posterior. And finally, guys, in the thoracic wall, we provide the imaginary line, which is connected inferior margin of pectoralis major with inferior margin of the latissimus dorsi. Above and laterally to this line, we have upper extremity. It is the axillary region of feet. Below and medially to this line, we will have the thoracic region. Is it understandable for you? Very well. Now, let's start from the shoulder shoulder and then consequently come to 3 upper extremity. Can we a little bit open the door because that is critical. We hope you radioaxillaris. I can say that from all shoulder-shoulder regions, that is the most important one. Why? Because sources of innervation and sources of supplement of all 3 upper extremity located immediately here in the axillary region. How we border it? Now look to me. If I will raise a little bit my hand, I will palpate the margin of the pectoralis major from in front and margin of latissimus dorsi from behind. It's an anterior border of region. It is the free inferior margin of major pectoral. Posterior border, it is free inferior margin of latissimus dorsi. Now, if I will connect these 2 margins by imaginary line in the thorax region, it will be medial border of fossa axillaris. If the same 3 margins I connected to each other, but now in 3 upper extremity, that means I find medial tips of these margins and lateral tips of them. Medial tips I connected and I achieve the medial border. Lateral tips of these borders I connected and I achieve lateral border of the region. Finally, you can see that the region it is near the quadrangular shape. Yeah? All the borders we discussed together. Now layers. Then you look to the skin of the region. First of all, you see that it depresses. It has form of the depression. By the way, the more higher you will raise your head, the more deeper will come to this depression. Little after you will understand the anatomical meaning of this phenomena. Why then you raise your head, depression is stand deeper. But just remember about this specificity. You can go and drink the water. Little after you will see this specific. Now let's continue. Skin is covered by the hairs. Skin contains huge amounts of the sweat glands. This is the main place of formation of hydradenitis. Remember, please, of course, that is happened due to the sanitary problems. If you don't wash the region, due to the friction, because that is the place of the friction with your clothes. And of course, due to the traumatization, that you shave the hairs, you can simply damage the skin, which also can be cause of formation. And also the antiperspirants which you use, which is decrease the production of the sweat glands. And of course, it can be cause of the inflammational process. If it make obstruction of the ducts of the glands, of course, it can give the inflammational processes in this region. Subcutaneous fatty tissue is loose, not so much developed. That's why the region has not the protrusional form of depression, but inside of the fatty tissue we have vessels and nerves. Let's start from the vessels. Vessels, it is superficial veins, all of them draining to your cephalic vein. As you remember, along the sulcus deltoides pectoralis in fatty tissue, we have vena cephalic. By the way, it doesn't reach the clavicle, approximately finger below. It is perforated the proper fascia, come to the axillary fossa and drain into the axillary vein. Unfortunately, I don't have the electricity to show it in the screen, but just remember this. Okay, but we have also nerves here. And the most important nerve we call this intercostobrachialis. Intercostobrachialis. What is show that name? It shows origin of the nerve. It is originated from first intercostal nerves and also from brachial plexus. The brachial plexus originated from C5 up to T1. But don't forget that the spinal cord cervical portion has not 7, but it has 8 segments, as you remember, yeah? Okay, let's continue. That's a nervus intercostobrachialis. It is the sensory nerve, which makes the sensory innervation of the skin of this region, and also it is innervated the anterior superior thoracic region. Superficial fascia doesn't have specificities, but proper fascia is very unique. Remember, please, the more you will come to the medial and lateral sides, the more thicker it will become. The more you will come to midpoint of the fossa, the more thinner and perforated will be this fascia. Why it is perforated? Because vessels and nerves pass or from deep to superficial or from superficial to deep. For example, in case of lymphatic structures, they come from superficially to deep to be drained into 5 group of lymphatic nodes, which is located in the axillary fossa. And what is important, friends, like your skin, proper fascia also has the dome-shaped form with the apex which is looped to up and to medial. Don't worry, sit down. By the way, again, the more you will raise your head, the more cupular will become not only skin, but the proper fascia also. I think you understand why these two structures synchronically change the form, because they have septas which is fused to each other. If I will be proper fascia, you will be the skin, we will be connected by the septa. If I will be raised to upwards, you will be raised together with me. But why proper fascia is raised to up, then you lift your hand? Explanation is simple. I want to remind you that in your thorax region, proper fascia has 2 layers, fascia pectoralis and fascia clavipectoralis. Fascia clavipectoralis doesn't finish in the thorax. It is continued to your axillary region, and it is joined with axillary fascia. Place of the junction of these 2 fascias to each other we call suspensor axillary ligament. Otherwise, we call it Gerald's ligament. That's why now, by a mechanism of this movement, you understand. You raise your hand, your minor pectoral is constricted, but minor pectoral covered by clavipectoral fascia. Clavipectoral tends the axillary fascia to upwards, but axillary fascia connected with the skin. That's all these complex, together with pectoralis minor muscles, move from down to upwards, from laterally to the medial side. If you will take the scalpel and will cut and remove proper fascia, under it you will see deep, loose connective tissue of axillary region, which is called fossa axillaris. Now look, I will try to push my fingers under between the mentioned muscles, yeah, which is for the borders, and my fingers now enter inside of this fossa. Why? Because they press the proper fascia to upwards. And what can I feel? I can feel now borders of this fossa. In front of my fingers, it means anteriorly, I will have 2 muscles which I tense now by my fingers. It is major and minor. Behind of my fingers, again I push the muscles, but now 4. Latissimus dorsum, teres minor, teres minor, and subscapular, which is located in front of your scapula. Then I push my fingers to the medial side. I palpated the lateral wall of my thorax approximately up to the level of cardiac rib, which is covered by musculus serratus anterior superior. Then I push now my fingers to the lateral side. I touch first of all to the surgical neck of the grapefruit bone and two tendons which I have. Look, if you will little bit tense your biceps, you'll feel here the short head of the biceps muscle, and you will feel here coracobrachialis, which is also flexor muscle. So once again, laterally you have surgical neck of the brachial bone together with two tendons, tendon of the short head of the biceps and coracobrachialis muscle. We understand now, imagine now that my room, it is our fossa. Like my room, it has four walls, anterior, posterior, medial, and lateral. But my room has a roof also. Roof for our fossa we call apex of the fossa, or tip of the fossa. And it's located immediately between two ear bones. From in front, it is clavicle. From behind, it is first rib. Greatly important part of the fossa, because you know it is like door, which is connected entrance with my room in case of anatomy, which is connected neck region from the upper extremity. And from neck region, main vessels and nerves through this apex will be entering inside of fossa axillaris, which mean nerve vessels, of course, subclavian, which mean nerves, of course, plexus brachialis. That's why from apex of the fossa, it means between your clavicle and between first rib, this neurovascular bundle from neck region will come to the region of the axillary fossa. And then, from axillary fossa, they will give the branchings, which will supply all upper extremity. Is it understandable for you? Very well. Except vessels and nerves, inside of this loose connective, we have five groups of the lymphatic nodes, which is draining not only this region, but whole upper extremity, and majority of the thoracic wall regions. Little after we will discuss this group of the lymphatic nodes. But let's become again to vessels and nerves. To effectively describe the topographical anatomy of these structures, we use division of the anterior superior thoracic region into triangles, which we studied together, yeah? Clavipectoral, pectoral, subpectoral. Now we projected these triangles into the fossa. Now, can you give me two pens? If I will put these pens now along the fossa, you can see that I'm on a leading triangle. In reality, it is not triangle, it is pyramidal shaped structure. I cannot now 3D show it for you. But now look here, please. This triangle passes from down to upwards and from laterally to the middle. And apex of triangle will be between my finger, which is first rib, and between the clavicle. Do you understand me or not? Now, if I will project these three triangles into this fossa, they will divide this fossa again into three triangular places. Clavipectoral, pectoral, and subpectoral. Because immediately behind of your thoracic muscles, we have this fossa. I said you 2 minutes before that these thoracic muscles, major and minor, forms the anterior wall of the fossa axillaris. So we can simply make this projection. Okay, now we go into the fossa. We go from up to down and from medially to laterally. From apex, we travel into the base. Apex will be coincide with clavipectoral triangle, mid part with pectoral triangle, and the base with subpectoral triangle. Let's start from apex. Position of the structures. Neurovascular structure here contains three elements. The most medial one, it is the axillary vein. Little bit laterally to it and little bit deep to it, we have axillary artery. Now, deep and laterally to it, we have plexus brachialis. Plexus brachialis here presented by trunks. As you remember, trunks, it is primary part of the supraclavicular portion, but this is the border part. After they will become to the cords, as you remember. In supraclavicular part, we also have roots. That's roots trunks, and cords. Finally, cords divided into terminal branches. By the way, and roots and trunks gives the short branches. Cords gives the long branches. What's the difference between them? 99% of the long branchings go to the free upper extremity. 99% of short branches go to the shoulder jugular and thorax region. There are only one long branch which doesn't go to the free upper extremity. This is nervus axillaris. By foramen quadrilateral, it is come to the subdeltoid space, which is below to the shoulder. All another long branches, which we will discuss a little after, come to our free upper extremity and innervate. Brilliant. That's it. We understand the syncope: vein, artery, nerve. Each element located not only in frontal, but also a little bit in the horizontal plane. Each next one located deeper to the previous one. Vein is most superficial medial, artery laterally and deep to it, plexus brachialis laterally and deep to artery. Inside of this triangle, guys, remember what I said you minutes before. Vena cephalica, perforated the proper fissure. It is molar-heavy fossa, yeah, uppermost portion of sulcus deltoides pectoris, and drain immediately into the vena axillaris. Arteria axillaris, in its turn, gives two branchings here. Both you know, both we study in the thorax region. First one we call arteria thoracoacromialis. Second one we call arteria thoracica suprema. Thoracica suprema supplies soft tissues in subclavial region or infraclavicular. That is the same. Thoracica suprema come to the subpectoral space between major and minor pectoral. Here it's split into three branches: ramus acromialis, deltoideus, and pectoralis. Each one supply the mentioned structure. Well, let's continue. What about plexus brachialis? Plexus brachialis here gives the short branchings. And primary, I want to mention the pectoralis. No, it gives the medial and lateral pectoral nerves. As you remember again, subpectoral space. That is the motor nerves which is make the innervation of the major and minor pectoral muscles. Is it understandable? Super. Let's continue. Now we come to the second triangle. Again, same position of the elements. Position of elements doesn't change. But plexus brachialis now, instead of three trunks, yeah, which now will be presented by three cords. And cords will be posited, two artery, one medially, we will call it medial cord, second laterally, we will call it lateral cord, and one behind, we will call it posterior cord. Let's say, remember, please, in second triangle, we have cords, medial, lateral, posterior. What gives the artery here? Artery inside of this triangle, as you remember, gives one descending branch, which we call arteria thoracalis lateralis. And from plexus brachialis, here we have the short branch, which we call nervus thoracicus longus. Nervus thoracicus longus, guys, has along the anterior axillary line, together with the artery, and they supply not only the thorax, but the breast also. Let's continue. This is the branches of artery and nerve. Now let's come to the last triangle, subpectoral. Point number one, position of elements is not changed, but plexus brachialis is disappeared. It is divided into final, terminal, otherwise we call it long branches. Guys, everything is simple. Remember, please, two. Two from medial, two from lateral, two from back. From medial, you remember, it is ulnar nerve and the medial root of medianus. From the lateral, it is the musculocutaneous and lateral root of the medianus. From the posterior cord, we have two nerves. It is the biggest one, nervus radialis, and the exceptional one, nervus axillaris, which goes to upwards. Also, you remember, yeah, medial cord gives two skin nerves, which is generally we call the short branchings. But anyhow, it is goes to the three upper extremities. Putaneus brachymedialis and putaneus antebrachymedialis. That's all. We finished to speak about neurovascular structures here. Yeah, about artery. Arteria axillaris in the last triangle gives three branchings. All of them you know very well. One, by foramen quadrilaterum, go to the back side, to the subdeltoid space. We call it arteria circumflexa humeri posterior. Second, surrounding the surgical neck from in front, arteria circumflexa. By the way, under the deltoid muscle, in the lateral surface of the surgical neck, before the anastomosis. Last third branch is the most important one. We call it subscapular artery. From anatomy, you remember that subscapular artery divided into two terminal branches, circumflexus scapulae and thoracoldorsalis. Thoracoldorsalis supply posterior muscles, but circumflexus scapulae, guys, involve information of most important collateral network of upper extremity. Now we come to the back wall. In the back wall of our axillary region, as you remember, we have two apertures. One aperture located up and laterally, second aperture located low and medially. Low aperture we call triangular, upper aperture we call quadrangular. In the Latin we say foramen trilaterum, foramen quadrilaterum. Upper and lower borders of both apertures is same. From down we have teres minor and latissimus dorsum. From upwards we have teres minor and subscapularis. My finger, which is divided these two apertures from each other, it is long head of triceps muscle. Those are for triangular, it is the lateral border. For quadrangular, it is the medial border. Yeah? And finally, last lateral border for quadrangular aperture, it is the surgical neck of the rectal border. Inside of triangular aperture, guys, we have arteria circumflexa scapulae, which is from subclavian, from axillary region, come to the scapular region. And what it forms here? Don't forget neck region. Subclavian artery here gives the important branch, which we call truncus tibiocervicalis. And one of the most important branches of this trunk we call arteria suprascapularis. It is immediately come to the same region. One more branch also comes. It is the deep branch of the transverse cervical artery. If you remember, it is from third portion of subclavian. These three arteries together, circumflexus scapulae, suprascapularis, transversal colli, forms the collateral network of upper extremity. What does it mean? It means this is your subclavian artery, this is your clavicle, that is axillary artery, and this is collateral network. A suprascapular one, subscapular one. Even if you negate main artery between these two branches, supplement of extremity will not so much will be damaged. It means no necrotization will not be done. Of course, after you cannot make the hard sport or hard physical work, but extremity will be same due to this anastomosis. Now let's come to the last question. It is the lymphatic structures inside of this region. As I told you before, there are 5 groups of the lymphatics, so-called medial, lateral, posterior, central, and apical. Name is mentioned, position of the lymphatic nodes. Medial group, otherwise we call it anterior pectoral group. It is located in medial wall of the fossa, level of the third rib, under the margin of major pectoral. Main lymphatic nodes, which is drain your thorax and breast region. 75% of the breast lymph drain inside of it. Biggest lymphatic node we call zornium or signaling. Group number 2. Now I push my finger in the opposite side in the lateral wall. We call it lateral. Remember, surgical neck, short head of the biceps, coracobrachialis. One of the most important lymphatic nodes, because it is drained completely all 3 upper extremity. If, for example, during the mastectomies, generally radical mastectomy, you will remove this group of the lymphatics. By the way, you can remove another, but not that one. It will give the lymphostas, elephantism of upper extremity, with the future big problems up to the gangrene and amputation of upper extremity. Or you will make the plastical heart surgery to form the new ways for the drainage of the lymph from upper extremity, which is not simple. Group number 3 we call central. It's located strongly in midpoint of the fossa, drain the fossa. Group number 4 we call posterior. It is located in posterior wall and it is drained the posterior thorax. Finally, group number 5 we call apical. This is the regional lymphatic nodes, suprainfraclavicular, which is drained all 4 previously mentioned group of the lymphatics and provided to ductus thoracic in the left side. Questions? If no questions, very quickly in other regions. Yeah, I don't want to speak about the infraclavicular because all the layers of infraclavicular region we study in anterior superior thoracic region. Just only borders. From upwards the clavicle, from down upper region of the third rib. From the medially sternal line, from the laterally sulcus deltoides pectoralis. You remember there are small, very small gender difference which is connected with superficial fascia, because here we don't have breast. Breast is located below the third rib. But here we have the Gerdy's ligament, suspensor ligament, which is formed by superficial fascia, and which is joined by the clavicle. Of course, females have it, of course, male doesn't have it. That is only difference between two genders in this region. Again, I say all differences will start below this region. About deltoid region, it is absolutely in 100% coincide with the size of the deltoid muscle, which has triangular shape form, bases look to up and medially, tibias look down to laterally to the same name, tuberositas of the brachial bone, very diffused. Skin is thick, skin is not elastic, skin is covered by the hairs for the males, skin contains sweat and sebaceous. Fat is good developed. Inside of the fat we have superficial veins which is drained into the cephalic one, and we have the nerves. And primary it is nervus cutaneus brachiolateralis superior, superior lateral skin nerve of arm. Maybe sure that it is innervated skin not only in the deltoid region, but in the upper portion of the lateral surface of the arm. It is the branch of nervus axillaris. Superficial fascia, no specificity, proper fascia forms the capsule for deltoid, and as you remember from anatomy, it gives the two deep septas inside of deltoid and divided deltoid into 3 portions according to places of attachment: clavicular, acromial, and scapular. Under the deltoid muscle, we have the most important and interesting part. We call it subdeltoid loose connective tissue. Synovial borsas, loose connective tissue, neurovascular structures. Especially I want to mention your attention into neurovascular structures, circumflex humeri posterior vessels and nervus axillaris. Both these structures located immediately in the surface of the surgical neck of the brachial bone. Why we call it surgical neck? Most usual place of the fracture. But sorry, if the nerves and vessels located so near into this structure, they can be damaged during the fractures. For example, how you can recognize trauma of artery, big hematoma. How you can recognize the trauma of the neck. Shoulder is going to down, because this is the nerve which is innervated your deltoid muscle, which is lift your shoulder to upwards. Is it understandable for you? Now let's come to the scapular region. Borders from upwards, imaginary line, you remember, between spinous process and the acromion. From down it is the horizontal scapular line, which is passed under the angle of the scapula. Consequently, medially it is the paravertebral lines, the laterally it is posterior axillary line. Skin is thick, not elastic, fatty tissue is good developed inside of its superficial vessels and nerves. Superficial fascia, no specificity. Deep fascia forms the capsule for supraspinatus, infraspinatus muscles. It is formed the capsule for subscapular muscle. And under the proper fascia, we have immediately arterial collaterals, which I described before. which is formed by circumflexus scapulae, by suprascapularis, by deep branch of transverse cervicalis arteries. That's all. Point by point, I explain for you all shoulder-gilder compartment. Now let's come, time to come to free upper extremity. Before I will start to speak about free upper extremity, before I will start to divide free upper extremity into the compartments, let's speak about some common rules. By the way, these common rules belong to both our extremities because they have a lot of similarities in the structures. Rule number one, in both extremities, if you study the skin, the more medially you will come, the more elastic and mobile skin you will find. The more laterally you will go, the less elastic and thicker skin you will find. More thick and less elastic. Fatty tissue will be much more loose in the medial surface and more dense in the lateral surface. That is the cause why the wounds in the medial surface have usually flappy form. They can be simply disconnected from deeper structures because it's loose. It doesn't have any septus, which is made the fixation of it. Rule number three, for both our extremities, proper fascia, it is double layer structure. It has superficial, I don't speak about superficial fascia. I speak about superficial layer of proper fascia, and it has deep layer. What is important, guys? This deep layer of proper fascia. Where is the overture? Okay, let's draw it like green color. For example, this is our proper fascia of arm region. Yeah, it has two layers. In reality, it is something like that. Double layer structure. For example, if by yellow now I will draw the bone, change your place, sit down in that side if it's invisible. No toilet, it's much more important for you. Of course. If you will look now to this cross section, you will find that deep layer of proper fascia gives so-called intermuscular septus. Intermuscular because they pass between the muscles. And what is important, guys, again, common rule, which is true for both extremities. In part of your extremities, with single bone, this is arm and hand. Intermuscular septa has double layer. And between these two layers, we have interfacial space, A and B. For example, if it will be medial side, B will be medial interfacial space, A will be lateral, that will be lateral. For example, with right extremity, we make cross section, this is the medial side, that is the lateral side. Once again, listen attentively. By the way, this is the rules which we call by the name of the famous Nikolai Pirogov, because he investigated these rules. Again, I told you. In the part of the extremities with single bone, interfacial septus contain double layers. And inside of this septus, interfacial spaces is formed. That's an intermuscular septum contain double layers, and inside of these double layers, we have interfacial space. Is it understandable for you? I think it's not so hard. Now let's come to the parts of extremity with more than one bone. For example, your leg region, your forearm region, your hand region. Here citation is another. Again, deep layer of the proper fascia gives intermuscular septus, but no septa content only one layer. No any interfacial spaces. If there are more than one bone in the part of the extremity, remember forever, this region doesn't have interfacial space. But what it has? It has the second compartment, which is visible in this picture. It is compartment 1 and 2. These compartments we call osteofacial compartments. And doesn't matter is it region with one or many bones. It has osteofacial compartments. That's a problem and difference connected only with interfacial space. Region with single bond have interfacial space. Regions with more than one bond doesn't have interfacial space. But both these regions have osteofacial. Now, 1 minute attention. Again, rule of the pyramid. If the region has interfacial space, strongly neurovascular bundles will be inside of that. If the region doesn't have interfacial space, neurovascular bundles, together with muscles, will be osteofacial bundles. So remember, please, evolutionally, primary interfacial space is originated for neurovascular bundles. Ask me why. Because it contains fat and nothing will not press to the vessels and nerves. Osteofacial compartment, primary originated for muscles, but for parts of extremity without interfacial space, vessels and nerves will be between muscles in grooves or in channels. We'll describe. And it is understandable for you. I'm happy and let's continue. Now let's come to the parts of free upper extremity. I told you this is arm, cubital region, forearm, and hand. Let's start from up. As usually borders, guys. Upper border, it is circular line in the level of the tips, of our pectoral spine and our latissimus dorsi. If you remember, in the same time, it is the lateral border of your fossa, of your axillary regions. Inferiorly, you palpate two epicondyles of your brachial bone, 2 fingers above it, it means 4 centimeters. 1 finger in topography is 2 centimeters. That's why 2 fingers, otherwise 4 centimeters above the epicondyle, you provide it circular line. We understand the borders or no? Now, along 2 grooves of biceps muscle, medial and lateral, I provided longitudinal lines. They divided your arm into anterior and posterior. That's all. Now let's come to the layers. I will give the layers completely for both these compartments together and we'll say you difference. As I say, your anteriorly medially skin is thinner, more elastic, more movable, by the way, less pigmented, less covered by the hairs, but contain huge amount of the specially sweat glands. Subcutaneous fatty tissue losing the medial surface and thick in lateral surface. By the way, in your opinion, if it will be my right arm region, inside of which from these 2 interfacial spaces, A or B, I will have the main vessels and nerves? Logical. Yes, use your brain. Inside of A, yeah, of course, if you will be our creator and want to kill us, of course, of course inside of B. Because medial surface is much more protected. It is closed surface. This is the case why main vessels doesn't matter, upper or lower extremity. Medial surface is protected, lateral is open. That's why we don't have any big vessel or nerve in the lateral surface of our extremities. All of them located medial. That's of course B. Okay, but let's come to the fatty tissue. Inside of the fatty tissue, guys, we have vessels and nerves. Again, one more, we can say, universal rule. No any arteries inside of the fatty tissue, only superficial veins. Nerves, of course, but I speak about vessels, no any arteries. By the way, remember, please, big 2 veins in upper extremity, in medial side is basilic, in lateral side it is cephalic vein. And very important case, cephalic doesn't finish in extremity. It is passed to the thorax. We describe it inside of sulcus. But basilic is finished. In upper part of the arm region, it is perforated proper fissure, goes to space B, medial interfacial space, and drain into the brachial veins. Why I say veins? Because in free upper extremity, 1 artery have 2 veins. That is also a rule. Remember, again, common for both extremities. Let's continue. Except these two veins, we have the nerves. One in lateral, one in medial, one in backside. In the lateral side, guys, it is the lateral skin nerves of the arm. Why I say again plurally? Because in superior third, you remember, it is superior one, which is from axillary nerve. In middle and inferior, it is the inferior one, which is from nervus radialis. That's why in Latin we say nervus cutaneus brachiolateralis superior, nervus cutaneus brachiolateralis inferior. Superior from axillary, inferior from radialis. Now let's come to the medial surface. Arm region, nervus cutaneus brachimedialis. Forearm and cubital region, nervus cutaneus antebrachimedialis. Both, we mentioned, originated from medial cord. Yeah? Well, let's continue. Now let's come to the back side. Two nerves we have here, but it's important. One is functional, second no. Functional one we call, of course, posterior skin nerve of arm, nervus cutaneus brachioposterior, again from radialis. Non-functional we call nervus cutaneus antebrachioposterior. It is a transitional nerve, you know, in arm region. It starts to work in the cubit and in forearm. But now to reach the cubit of forearm, it passes inside of the posterior fat. Fat, especially in the medial surface, contains superficial lymphatic cells. Let's continue. We finished to speak about fat. Let's come to layer number 3, which is superficial fascia. Absolutely no any specificity. Absolutely. And under of it, we see this double layer blue structure, blue or green structure, which is called properficial. As I say, it has superficial and it has deep layers. And as I told you before, deep layers gives two intermuscular circles. Medial, which is fused with medial aspect of the brachial bone, lateral, which is fused with the lateral bone. Both is double layering. Both contain interfacial space. Now listen to me carefully. In upper and in middle third, space A, otherwise lateral interfacial space, is absolutely empty. It means it contains only loose connective tissue and lymphocytes. In the lower third, it has radial neurovascular bundle, arteria collateralis radialis, and nervus radialis. Once again, in space A, otherwise lateral interfacial space, upper middle third, nothing I mean just the fat of loose connective. In the lower third, it is nervus radialis and arteria collateralis radialis. What is it? We will discuss a little after. Space B, main space inside of the arm. You know why? Because the main neurovascular bundle of arm located here. What does it mean, main neurovascular bundle? Simply, guys, arteria brachialis with two veins and huge amount of the nerves. By the way, this huge amount of the nerves we have only in upper third. What I mean when I say huge amount? Long branches of plexus brachialis. But in middle and lower third, all these nerves, except one, except nervus medianus, will leave the space B. And inside of neurovascular bundle of middle and lower third, we will have only nervus medianus. But let's come to the upper third. Imagine in geometrical midpoint of space B, one big red point, it will be our brachial artery. From two sides of it will be two brachial veins. Now look, please. Medially to it, we will have two nerves. Laterally to it, again, two nerves. Behind of it, only one nerve. What is the medial nerves? Of course, the ulnar one. And of course, nervus cutaneus antebrachimedianus. What is the lateral nerves? Of course, medianus one and nervus musculocutaneus. What is the posterior nerve? Nervus radialis. Friends, I show for you all terminal branches of plexus brachialis, and you can see that in upper third of arm, they just surround it. Now imagine that our friend, it is arteria brachialis, and all the persons which is surrounded her, this is the nerves. This is the long branches of the plexus brachialis. But again, I tell you, from the level of the middle third, all of them, except nervus medianus, will leave the space with. Little bit about nervus medianus, because you remember, it is unique. It is really unique, because all another nerves originated from one cord. It is originated from two cords. One root comes from the medial, second comes from lateral, and immediately in front of arteria axillaris, they join each other and they form nervus medianus. But what is uniqueness of this nerve? Second uniqueness. You know, from up to down in arm region, it changes its position according to the artery. Now look, something like this is happening. Now imagine that my left hand, it is arteria brachialis. My right hand, it is nervus medianus. In upper third, it's located laterally to the artery. In mid third, it's cross artery from in front. In lower third, it's located medially to artery. Artery doesn't change its position. Nerve is changing its position. That is the case and cause and reason why in middle third of arm region we don't access the artery immediately by projectional line, because if immediately by projectional line I will come to him, I will damage the nervus medianus, which is covered in the middle third. Yeah, in upper and in lower third I can do it, but in middle one, no. You can say me what I can do in that case. A little bit I will go to medial or lateral side to not damage the nervus medianus, which is covered the artery in this level. Say, remember please, in majority of the literature, then you see termin of neurovascular bundle of arm. Finally, only nervus medianus is involved inside of it. Why? Because along all of, from up to down, all arm region, only one nerve passes with the artery. Yeah, you can say, but in upper third there are huge amount of them. Yeah, you can call it neurovascular bundle only of upper third. But then you speak about neurovascular bundle of all arm region. From this huge amount of the nerves, only one pass together with the vessels. This is medianus. Let's continue. Now let's understand what has happened with these nerves. How they live and into which places they go. Let's start from the laterally located nervus musculocutaneus. What has happened by laterally located medianus, I told you before. Now, what has happened by laterally located nervus musculocutaneus? Immediately in upper third, this nerve from space B perforated intermuscular membrane and come to the anterior compartment. By the way, guys, anterior compartment from anatomy, you remember, we call flexors compartment. Because in anterior compartment, we have flexor muscles. By the way, only one muscle in anterior compartment will be along all arm region, that is biceps. But it doesn't mean that here we have only muscles, but only muscles will be in upper, middle, and lower third. But in upper third, except the biceps, we have coracobrachialis. Biceps along of all arm forms the superficial layer of anterior compartment, and other muscles forms the deep layer. Immediately in upper third, it is coracobrachialis. In middle third, coracobrachialis is disappeared, it finished. Instead of it, we see another muscle, musculus brachialis. Again, it is deep layer. In lower third, again we have brachialis together with brachioradialis, which goes to the cubital and then the forearm. Let's say why this musculocutaneus goes to the anterior compartment. Simply, guys, of course it's logical, to innervate all flexor muscles which we have in anterior compartment. These are all muscles which I named now, innervated by musculocutaneus. I think you appreciated this interesting name, musculocutaneus. Why? Because in arm, it is the muscular nerve. But in cubital and forearm, it becomes the fat and it is innervating the skin. That's why we call it musculocutaneus. By the way, in many, many languages, it is called in wrong way, cutaneomuscular. No, it should be called muscular cutaneous, because upwards it made the muscular innervation, downwards it made the skin innervation. By the way, we rename it in cubital region and call it nervus cutaneus antebrachiolaterales. But remember that is same muscular cutaneous, same muscular cutaneous. Brilliant. Now you know what is happening with the nerves which is located laterally to artery, medianus musculocutaneus. What is happening with the nerve which is behind the artery? By the way, biggest nerve of plexus brachialis, which is called nervus radialis. Biggest branch of plexus brachialis. Look, if he will be artery, I will be the nerve, and primary I will be behind of him. But after, let's draw it here, for example. This is the big artery. Musculocutaneus will be here. Yeah, lateral. Now, behind of this artery, I draw the huge big nerve. Nervus radialis. By the way, in the picture, you look it like below. But in real case, it is cross-section. It is behind. Not below, because that is normal position, not this one. What is happening with this nerve, you know from anatomy. Again, it is perforated, but now the posterior layer of this intermuscular septum. And this comes to posterior compartment. Not alone, together with branch of the brachial artery, which we call deep brachial artery. Again, anatomy, guys. Remember the vessels of upper extremity, and remember that brachial artery in each turn of arm, upper, middle, and lower, gives single branches. One in upper, one in middle, one in lower. Immediately branch which is originated in upper third, we call profunda brachii. Now, nervus radialis with arteria profunda brachii perforated the proper fascia and come to the canal. The canal also you must know, yeah? In the middle part of our diaphysis of ossinerus, we have the groove, which we call spiral-shaped groove. But then this spiral-shaped groove covered by a long head of the triceps muscle, it becomes a canal. We call it canalis spiralis, or canalis nervi radialis, or canalis humeromuscularis. Humeromuscularis show how it forms. Canalis nervi radialis show what it contains. Canalis spiralis show the position, shape of this canal. Canal is passed from up to down, and canal is passed from medial to the lateral side. Inside of this canal, again I tell you, we have nervus radialis with arteria profunda brachii. By the way, immediately inside of this canal, arteria profunda brachii split it into two terminal branches. Again, anatomy. One we call collateralis radialis. Second we call collateralis media. Not medialis, media. I suggest you to attract your attention into this name, collateralis. Finally, in arm region, you will find 4 vessels, which is called collateralis. 2 from them I present it now for you. Collateralis radialis, collateralis media. Honor, thank you very much. But we say before, and friend is right, that arteria brachialis in each turn gives single branch. We discuss only the branch of it in upper turn. Where is the branches in middle and lower? Simply, guys, in mid-turn, he said, collateralis ulnaris superior, in the lower turn, collateralis ulnaris superior. Now calculate it, how many collateral arteries? Why they call collateral, friends? You can tell me. Because they will form collateral network inside of the cubital region. By the way, from these collateral arteries, 2 will come to anterior cubital region. This is collateralis ulnaris inferior and collateralis radialis. 2 will go to posterior cubital. Collateralis ulnaris superior and collateralis medial. Second, most important, collateral of upper extremity. But you know what the problem? I have descending vessels, which is called collateral. But to form the anastomosis, I should have also ascending vessels. And ascending vessels will be formed from terminal branches of arteria brachialis. Your arteria brachialis, by the way, which is projected along the medial groove of the biceps, it is become to the cubital region, then it little bit changes direction. From the lowest point of the medial groove of biceps, it is directed to the midpoint of the cubital fossa. And approximately 1 centimeter below the midpoint of the cubital. Outside. Это окей, красотка. Now look this here. In midpoint, little below, it's split into two terminal branches. Yeah, medially we have ulnar artery, laterally we have radial artery. And immediately this ulnar and immediately these radial arteries will give 4 ascending branches. By the way, do you know how we call them? Recurrence. It means opposite, recurrence. Let's say a recurrence vessel will come to the collateral vessel and will form the anastomosis. If there are 4 collateral, we will have 4 recurrence. By the way, first recurrence will be from arteria radialis. We call it recurrence radialis. It immediately comes to collateralis radialis and form the anastomosis. All another recurrences will be from ulnaris. First of all, ulnaris will give the recurrence ulnaris, and it will be split into 2 terminal branches. Recurrence ulnaris anterior, recurrence ulnaris posterior. Of course, anterior will come to collateralis ulnaris inferior, posterior will go to collateralis ulnaris superior. We have 3 from 4 anastomosis. Now let's come to the last, 4th. Arteria ulnaris gives one descending branch, which we call arteria interossea. Arteria interossea communis. You remember in the border between cubital and forearm, it's split into 2 terminal branches. One is penetrating interossal membrane and goes to backside. Second is sliding along the anterior surface. One we call anterior interrossal, second posterior. Posterior interrossal is the recurrence branch, which we call recurrence interossal. It is come to the collateralis media and for the last 4th anastomosis with them. So now you can see formation, practical meaning. Friends, when you speak about anastomosis, don't immediately speak about some critical, awful situation. Think first of all about your body. Why you need it now? Of course, your artery is not ligated. Of course, your artery not damaged. But if you will make hard physical work and will need the more supplement for your muscles, of course, collaterals can provide it. But even in the most critical condition, if you will take and ligate the main artery between these anastomoses, upper extremity will have enough supplement to prevent necrotization. Questions? Okay, no questions? Let's continue. These nervus radialis, by the way, in the lower third, will be entering inside of the space. I told you that space in upper and in middle third is empty, but in lower third it is contained arteria collateralis radialis with nervus radialis. Then after this they come to cubital region. In cubital region we will speak about them, but little after, not now. Finally we have last nerve. Nerves, 2, which is located medially. By the way, one is big, second is small. What is happening with small, you understand. Nervus cutaneus antebrachium medialis, in cubital region and forearm region, it is innervating the skin. It's located in fatty tissue. But what is happening with nervus ulnaris? In the middle third, it is perforated faster, come to the posterior compartment. But again, not alone. It is come with the branch of the middle third, which we call collateralis ulnaris superior. Together with this collateralis ulnaris superior, it will be directed into posterior cubital region, immediately into the posterior medial osteofacial canal. I think you feel many times, then you touch your cubit to the something dry. Okay, why? Because the nerve is pressed inside of this canal, because it's located immediately in the surface of the bone. I completely finished to describe for you the arm region. Do you have any questions? I'm happy, let's continue. Now we come to the next region, which is the joint region. Very important functional region for us, which we call pubital region. Borders is more than simple, guys. As I say, you find the midpoint of your epicondyles, 2 fingers above first circular line, 2 fingers below second. So approximately